they violate a broad spectrum.
They violate equal protections. They violate due process rights, which I want to talk to you. I'm glad we're having this conversation because of the legal part of this with the issuance of warrants. A lot of people have seen you in the media. That's how we first met. They arrested you out of Oakland County, but a lot of people don't know that you had your son in your custody for 7 years prior to that whole incident where all of a sudden you were wanted for child support. So can you give us a little background?
I have him. He was thriving in a private school. He was 5 years old, reading at a high school level. He was testing in the upper extreme genius level. My son was reading and comprehending, because it's one thing to read, but it's another thing to comprehend. He was reading and comprehending. I mean, we were really, really a pillar in the community, and we were demonstrating, you know, the way that a father should be able to participate in his child's life. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I was on a television show called The Young and the Restless. And when his mother saw that I was on Young and the Restless, they created some type of plan to come and get my son. My lawyers had even later told me that I shouldn't have given my son up. And I was fooled. I was lied to, and it was a whole ploy. And there was a lawyer by the name of Celeste Dunn. She's hyphenated her name recently, but I don't really care too much to even know what her hyphenated name is. Celeste Dunn was her name, a white woman. She and this is not a thing of race or color, but I do know that there are Karens out there. So her name could be Karen for all I care, but it's Celeste Dunn. And they made it their mission to come after me and to take my son from me. And so recently, my son and I were reunited after years of being apart. And during the visitation, Celeste Dunn and my son's mother, Elizabeth Joy Swain, they called the police on me and tried to have me arrested in the middle of our visit.
And it was through the phone? So it was a phone?
No, it was our first in-person visit in years. I found my way back to my son in the state of Michigan, in Michigan. I was in Farmington Hills, which is another place that isn't too friendly, you know, when it comes to us. And I say us based on, you know, the color of our skin. And I was with an amazing. We finally, because I had to fight to even have anyone Black involved in the case.
Right.
Every time I would try to bring up a Black therapist, or, you know, they want to do psychoanalyzations, and I'd done nothing to even lose custody. So when I bring it up and I try to have somebody Black involved, it was a problem. So yeah, it was a problem. So there was this amazing doctor. Her name was Dr. Deborah, and I don't know if she knew. I'm sure that she might have been informed, because everything that they do, it's scripted. Whether you guys realize it or not, everything that these people do, your attorney, their attorney, everybody knows what they're gonna do. It's all scripted. So I'm not saying that she knew, but it sure is a strong possibility.
Yeah, they work together for sure.
Yes.
And they wanted to arrest you because you were spending time with your son, but there was nothing in the mix where there was abuse or anything like that that would make you a danger to your son that you haven't seen in years.
No, I was no danger. There was nothing that was ever reported or recorded. I mean, as I said, he actually was more in danger in Michigan because his mother had remarried someone who was a felon. She had a DUI. This guy was a con man. There were people looking for this guy for money. So I mean, they took my son from a healthy home, happy home where he was thriving in Beverly Hills. I mean, I'm not trying to, shame anybody or say that one place is better than the other, but I mean, he was doing fine in California,
Right.
and based on his mother's people, James Alanoli, and the fact that this man never had any sons, or he was raising daughters. He's raising my son as if my son was his. So they came and got my son, and I was trying to work it out to where we work together and co-parent. And my son even said that some parents are better at co-parenting than others. Thank you, bro. And then it basically was all about money.
It's all about money. They don't care about what this does to a child, especially a child that has been with his family, his father, and his side of the family, and then to be taken and then prohibited from communicating with that family, with his other family. For it hasn't been because your mom and I.
Oh, it's been some years. It's been years. No, it's been years that he's missed. He's missed birthdays. He's missed deaths in the family. I mean, I sent him to go be in his mother's wedding to participate. He's been kept from his cousins. Is what it's called. Just recently, he got a hold of my phone number and we were texting. His mother finds out that we were texting and she blocked me. And the courts are allowing this. And when we're sitting in these court sessions, I try to bring up custody, and even my own attorney. And when I bring up custody, the whole thing that they talk about is, well, let's address the issues of child support. Well, first off, I found out that you actually have a right to not pay child support. It's actually used as leverage in a custody battle.
Right. That's
so
true.
I don't even know who agreed on my behalf to pay an imputed number, which imputation, it means that it was inputted. There was no proper research that was done to derive at the number that we arrived at, unless somebody lied. Like my daughter's mother, my daughter Zoe, her mother lied in court and gave them a number, and then they just imputed it and steamrolled me, and that's another situation. But I'm focused on Michigan County right now.
Right.
We'll deal with it one demon at a time.
Oh, yeah. So I want to go back. You said that your son, his stepfather, is a felon.
Well, they're divorced now. They're divorced now.
But he was a felon, and they're trying to hit you with a felony non-support, correct?
Yeah, he's a felon because, and I'm going to clarify, he's a felony because he's a con man, and he, did some bad things to people. I had information, and I was trying to get into court where he had a whole studio set up where he would, take people's money and con them out of their money. So he's a felon because of that. If I were to become a felon, it would be because I was late paying support, or because I was trying to work out a payment plan that the courts wouldn't accept. In fact, the one time that I did go to jail was because I showed up with money in Oakland County, but it wasn't enough money for Oakland County.
And that's interesting because this is what they like to do, because I looked at the court documents, and this is what they like to do around the country. Because debtor prisons were outlawed in 1833. So you can't technically lock somebody up because they don't have the ability to pay. So what they do is issue these, they issue the paperwork for somebody to come to court for a hearing. When the person doesn't appear, then they issue a bench warrant, failure to appear. But once they get there and they don't have the money, they're locked up. If you don't have the money, you can't buy your way out of lockup. So they work their way around, once again, the law and the Constitution to get money and extort people. parents. In Michigan, on your paperwork, it said, let me find it, that this was from 2017, but it's active in 2022, well, last year. So it said, quote, bring him in before the court immediately, he may be released when a cash performance bond in the amount of $8,509 for personal appearance before the court at its next session. So that's saying if you don't, even though they have a failure to appear, if you don't come with that $8,500, you're going to sit in jail. That's the same thing as a debtor prison.
But this is what they don't tell you, that once you spend that time in jail, your debt is not paid. So anything else, if you have parking tickets, I mean, hell, if you, get caught with fraud, if you steal money, embezzlement, once you spend time in jail based on a sentence, it's time served.
Right.
There is no time served for child support, which is extremely unconstitutional. And once I started to uncover this and I started to understand this after I looked at some of your research and some of the work that you were doing as an activist, I began to understand. I didn't understand it. And I even had my lawyers telling me to pay child support. When I found out, is my lawyers don't have any loyalty to me because I'm not from the state of Michigan. They're officers of the court. They're officers of the court of wherever they are, and their jurisdiction and their loyalty is to that court, not to me. It's not about how much money I pay. It's not about what it is. They don't want to go in front of that judge, whoever it is, if it's Cheryl Matthews, which is the judge that, that was responsible for ruining my son's life, because they ruined my son. And in addition, they came really close to ruining me as well. And I'm not really worried so much about me. I'm talking about these young Black men who are out here robbing people, these young Black men who are out here selling drugs, these young Black men who don't know who they are. Another facet of taking our history from us. When you go to the doctor, what's the first thing they ask you? They ask you for your medical history. Right. When you stand in court before these judges, which they tried to do to me, they tried to bring up incidents that happened 20 years before my son was even born. Mm-hmm. Incidents where I was defending myself, my person, because people were attacking me and tried to call me a violent Black man. But yet they don't want us to know our history, who we are, where we come from. So it's all wrong. And so Cheryl Matthews, I don't know where she is now. She's left the circuit. She's moved on because these judges just move around. She ruined a young Black man, and she almost ruined me as a man. And, honestly, NK, you and I have talked, we had some very personal conversations. If I was lesser of a person, I probably would have committed suicide. Oh, I probably would have gave up. I probably would have just lived in a tent, and just hope people forget who I was and my contribution and what I've done. And I really believe that that's what these people want to see. They want to get in here to the point where you can no longer operate or function. I depend on my skill set as an actor to remember things and to be able to be creative. And people wonder why they haven't seen more of me. I can't remember anything when I'm separated